Hey, what's up? It's your boy Chanda and Mbao, and you're tuned in to the visual podcast, Zambian Hip-Hop History. Here, happy to talk to a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for over 10 years, probably over 15 years, and a man that's been very instrumental in the development of Zambian hip-hop history. So I'm really glad to get a chance to speak with the gentleman, Holstar. And a legend in the hip-hop game. We're grateful for all the things he's done. Welcome to the show, Holstar.
Hey, what's good, man? Jonathan, thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming through. Really appreciate it. You know, as mentioned to you, we're trying to document Zambian hip-hop history. So
sure, it's about time.
Yeah, man, who better to start with?
Time.
You know, thank you. You're our first guest on the show.
Wow, it's an honor.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for coming through. Yeah, I'd love you to tell the people just, I guess, a basic intro for those who may not know. You know, we're not gonna do the, do you know who this is?
Zero. So I go by the name Holstar. I'm a hip-hop artist. I'm a hip-hop promoter, I'm a business owner, and yeah, I've been in the game for about 15 years now. And yeah, I've been doing my thing. I formed Slam Dunk Records in 2004 when I released my first project. It was an EP called Versatile. And I have worn different hats over the years. One big hat that people know is me managing Zone Fam between the years 2010 to about 2014.
Okay.
But along the way, I've also released a number of projects, a number of EPs, collaborated with a lot of people in Zambia and outside the country. And yeah, I've just released my 5th album.
Awesome.
And it's great. It's awesome. It's awesome to be here. Still doing my thing after all these years.
Props to you, man. Resilience, man. Resilience and consistency. You know, that's 2 lessons, I think, for all the young people out there watching. The resilience and consistency. You know, don't overlook that. So another question that I wanted to ask you is, what would you say Holstar stands for musically? Are there any common themes or common aesthetics across your work?
So common themes and aesthetics across my work. Mostly is I love to represent my city, I love to represent my country. I love talking about things that affect me on a daily basis. So whether it be about the hustle or the struggle, I love to talk about love and unity and being together and basically just everyday life and, you know, things that affect other people apart from me. I like to tell other people's stories as well. Yeah. Pretty much it.
Awesome. And you said you came into the game, your first project was in 2004.
Yeah, so pretty much I actually released it in 2005.
Okay.
The project was called Versatile, it was an EP. I had like 3 songs on there. Those were literally the first songs that I recorded at a place in Charleston called Noise Lab.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to get the songs played on radio too.
Nice.
So I remember back in the day that was like on FM. There's a show called Hip Hop to Rock Your Block with Drakes. So man, that was my introduction into the game. That's how I came in.
That's dope. And how would you describe the general landscape of the Zambian hip hop scene at that time? What was going on? What was the scene like?
Man, the general landscape of the Zambian hip hop industry at the time, there was a lot of hip hop artists, I must say. We had a lot of hip hop artists, but of course, no one was really making a living from doing hip hop. It was all about, I'm doing this for the love, I'm doing this for the art. And we used to do a couple of shows here and there. I remember us performing at Olympic swimming pool. We had a show there, but I must say the show was very poorly attended at the time. You know, of course, we had competitions like Rap for a Million. Those would be well attended, because, you know, there's money on the line, you know. But honestly, like some of the shows that we would organize just as artists, whatever, the numbers weren't that big. But I'm just so happy where Zambian hip-hop is right now. People are making a living. There's fan bases that people can talk about, and it's grown, you know, it's just grown generally. And I love that people are united and working together.
Awesome. Yeah, that was actually my next question. How you would contrast the state of Zambian hip hop today versus at that point. So would you, I guess, highlight the salient feature as, I guess, the commercial growth of the genre?
Yes, the genre has definitely grown commercially. And honestly, Zambian hip hop has been so consistent And honestly, I still think it's the biggest genre in the country to date for the past 10 years consistently. Of course, other genres have grown, they're competing, but Z hip-hop, I mean, it's the one. So I'm just happy that people are making a living out of it, and they get to, people are looking up to some of these hip-hop artists as their heroes. They're looking up to them and say, oh, I want to be like that guy. Yeah, that's cool.
Dope.
That's awesome.
So going back to your discography, can you run us just a quick run through of the projects you've released? And I guess you could, if you remember them by year, you could do it chronologically.
Cool.
I know 04 is the first.
Right. So 04 was my first project, Versatile. 04, 05, Versatile EP, and then in 2006. Man, I released two albums that year. First album was Intellectual Property and Intellectual Property 2. Both released in 2006. Released my third album, H3 Love Me or Hate Me. That was in 2009. Then I took a break along the way. 2017, released Dreaming in High Definition. And then the fifth album, that's Kupele Kanyali ya Moto, meaning Passing the Torch, 2020. So in between, I had Holstar and Cope mixtape with my producer at the time. That was 2006, Holstar Pop mixtape. In 2012, I worked on a project with, this is a collaborative project with Texzilla from Nigeria. It's called The Extraordinaires. 2013, another collaborative project with Poison Hearts from Argentina, who doesn't speak a word of English. I'll let you know how we did that. And then I dropped a couple of EPs. 2014, it was Family Love, Country Passion, and then God City Lifetime. That was 2014. 2015, Beast Meets a Problem with Rock Beats, Zambian producer, amazing hip-hop producer. And then in 2018, there were two EPs there. It was Africore and Petrichor. Actually featured you.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, that's pretty much all my projects. Of course, I executive produced Zone Fam's first album, The Business Foreign Exchange. That was in 2011. So that's pretty much it, man. That's all my projects.
Awesome. Do you have any personal favorites in your catalog? And if so, what makes them important to you?
Wow, personal favorites is very hard to pick. But I would say my project with Poison Hearts, Universal Language. That's one of my favorite projects because I really feel like I was in my element at the time, lyrically. At some point, the beats, one point. I actually mixed and mastered the project myself. So I really paid a lot of attention to it. But I really love my latest project as well, Kupele Kanyali ya Moto. It's really been like a labor of love. I really put in a lot of work into it, a lot of resources into it, and I feel like I have finally come into my own, like get to work with different people. I collaborated with people from different countries, different producers. Man, I worked with amazing mix and mastering engineer, Paul Cruz, who did a very good job on the project. So I feel like these two projects are definitely high up. But that's not to belittle the other projects because there's some amazing stuff there.
No, of course.
So yeah, it's pretty much.
No, it's always hard, but I was curious about your perspective on that. And going further, would you say that you have a magnum opus from those projects?
Yes, so magnum opus.
Your Illmatic.
The one. The Illmatic. Yeah, so there's I would say there's my second album. 2006, Intellectual Property 2. Man, that album is like an Illmatic. Like we really went in the themes and one thing I've always told myself, I think, because early on in my career I worked with one producer by the name of Hope. We kind of mastered the way you track list songs on an album. We always talked about, an album can be a hit or a miss depending on how you track list the songs. So I feel like the track listing on that particular album was perfect. So Intellectual Property 2, I would say, even though I didn't list it as one of my favorites, is definitely high up. And
today, where can people get that album?
Today people can't get that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
How you gonna make Omatic and not let the people have it?
you know,
Is this download.com days?
this is around that time, man, when we met, download.com. But I think I'll definitely make it available again one day. I'll definitely need to remaster the whole project because I feel like at the time we were still trying to figure out how to put out the best quality work. So I would say right now I can't put it out as we did at the time. It was too raw.
Okay.
So definitely if we get to rework it, re-record it even, I'll definitely put it out. Because some of the things that we're talking about then are still very relevant, even today. Yeah.
And going back, I guess, rewinding a little bit from the discography, and just maybe a little bit your personal journey with hip hop. When would you say you first fell in love with hip hop?
Wow.
And what were that moment or those moments? What do you remember?
What? Falling in love with hip hop, man, that's a long journey. 1993, I'd say the first time I would hear rap in different R&B songs actually, with like Bobby Brown rapping about Ghostbusters or something. But the first time I actually fell in love with hip hop was, funny enough, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style in 1993. So my brother, brought this album. He was in college at the time. I was just a kid, listening to Snoop. I probably shouldn't have been listening to Snoop Dogg. But here I'm listening to it, I'm like, what is this? La-di-da-di, we like to party. I'm like, what is this, man? What is this? And listened to the album, fell in love with it, and then I got to listen to more artists like Wu-Tang, Nas, Biggie, and I was just like, okay, this is it. And then I end up in high school, and we're performing in V shows. Me and my friends formed a group. It was called Z Crew, and I think the first time I performed on stage and to actually see a crowd responding and just that feedback you get, just people screaming, I was like, okay, this is it, this could be something, this really could be something. And then years later, just getting into an actual studio, because I would record myself at home, with a speaker here, a PC mic here, but then actually stepping into a professional studio, and you have a producer make you a beat, and I recorded my first song. I was like, okay, I can do this. I got this, man. And I always studied hip hop. I studied the game. I read a lot of articles. I watched a lot of documentaries, and I definitely watched more than my own fair share of MTV, like MTV Cribs and stuff like that, and just different artist profiles. That's what really got me into the game, because I really do consider myself a student of the game.
Gotcha. And you touched on what my next question was going to be, but how the transition went from, oh, this is awesome, like as a viewer, as somebody viewing the game, and then saying, I want to do this. What was that little transition point? When did it go from I like this, looking at it, to I'm going to do this? So I think it was the whole, because back in the days I was with no money in my pockets, but then I got to go into an actual studio with, I don't know where I raised that 100 kwacha or 200 kwacha from to go and record my first song. So just paying for that and getting a final product, and then someone helped me put it on radio. I think that was the moment I was like, okay, so we can actually do this. This can actually be something. And then to take it a little bit further, when things really became serious, to say like, okay, we can actually make a living from doing this hip hop thing, was when we went to perform on the Big Brother stage as Zone Fam. That was in 2010. Myself and the boys actually traveled to SA and we got to perform on the Big Brother stage. That was huge. To hear someone tell you there's going to be 30 million people at home watching you guys perform. Hey, my heart was somewhere there. It was here, but the whole experience was amazing. And I had already been in the game for a couple of years at the time. The rest of the Zone Fam members were pretty young. That was the moment I looked and I was like, you know what, this could actually be something. And that's the moment when I actually told myself, you know what, I need to take a step back and manage the group. Because I think I always had an interest in, the administrative side and how I could
pushed it and how it could strategize things. So yeah, that's how it worked out, and things became pretty much very serious from there. And we went straight into like shooting videos and pushing for radio airplay and trying to get a bigger deal and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, that's very interesting because the flow is perfect, because that was exactly my next question: is how did the transition happen from going from being an artist and taking, I guess, a step into the business side of things? Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What motivated you? Because I think, it's important to note, it requires, I guess, a certain level of maturity and a certain level or certain lack of ego, which not everybody has, to say, hey, I'm gonna take that step back and be behind these guys. What motivated that in you? Is it just, is it something that you were just always cool with, like, like stepping up for others? Was it something about the circumstance? Was it something about being on Big Brother?
Like I said, I saw the situation myself. I was much older than.
Gotcha.
I wasn't. I am much older than.
And will always be.
Right. Most of the Zone Fab guys, those are my young brothers, So I saw the situation and told myself, I need to take the reins. I need to make a big decision here and manage these guys. For one, those guys are hugely talented. They're huge talents. And they had a good working chemistry, I must say, Like the way they did things together and put their music was amazing. I really wasn't in that equation. I was in another place creatively. So I was kind of putting them together, pushing them together and saying, guys, let's create, Alkanai was also one of the founding members of Zone Fam at the time. He also took a step back, and he kind of stepped into the corporate world and started working. I was also getting into the corporate world at the time. So it just made perfect sense for the guys to work together, and they needed a team to push that person. And that's how Zone Fam took off.
So talking about the Zone Fam journey, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the founding of the group, how the guys met each other, and how you all came together.
Right. So first person I met was Alkanai.
Okay.
Alkanai was introduced to me by Pope.
Okay. Interesting. Your producer. Yeah.
Yes. And so he came through to the studio, and we were working. We were all just solo artists, recording, actually just for fun. Yeah. It was a bedroom studio, little setup. Yeah. And so one day, Alkanai is recording a song, or we were recording. We were recording a good song.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh, so what?" Because we called the studio the Zone.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, so what do we call the studio again?" Like, "Oh, it's called the Zone." Yeah. And then so he raps in the song to say, "You can't mess with the Zone Fam," and so that's where the name was birthed from. Okay. And Alkanai introduced all of us to Dope G and to J Rocks, because these were his friends from the hood. Okay. And because I think he was recording with them even at other studios. And he said, "No, you need to meet these guys, they're dope, whatever." And they came through, and we liked what they were doing. Yeah. We went on recording just like that as solo artists. Yeah. So everyone who came to the studio, the Zone, was known as the Zone Fan, because it's just a collective thing. Yeah. And then Tim joined us as well, and Reggie also joined us along the way. I met Reggie through Buff, Chifumbe from 2-1. And Tim actually used to be a member of Dino Chain.
Oh yeah, that's true.
With Crisis. And I had heard about Tim. There's this kid can really rap, he's dope and all of that. So I actually met Tim at a studio in Chilenge. As a producer by the name of A+. That's the first time I met Tim. I was like, "Oh, so this is the Tim guy," and we just became friends. We would do a little. We had some shows back in the days at Playhouse. It was like the Hip Hop Foundation, and we do all these performances, and people were always amazed with what Tim would do. And he just approached us one day because we were already friends. Like, "Oh, I want to join Zone Fam." It was a bit of a fight. But,
oh, really? What?
Yeah. I won't go into it right now. That's for another day. But and I was like, "Yeah,
part of the history, man.
It is part of it. What we'll talk about, it's very important information." But it was cool. He joined, and that's how became part of the group. Yeah. And We
And
recorded a
so
lot.
all this is happening around '06. That's when this is.
No, so
Or actually, no. This is
me
fast forward, this
meeting.
is just before.
Yeah,
10.
so me meeting Dope G and J Rocks, this is happening around '06, '07, '08,
Okay.
and then me meeting Tim and Reggie, this is happening around '08, '09, and then I would say by the end of '09 we had shot Zone Fam's first video.
Okay.
You know, like I took.
What was the first video?
I Popped That Body.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually got like half of my salary at the time. I was like,
that's crazy.
boom, let's shoot this video, man. Let's do this. I think that was the first big step, eh?
Man, so you weren't just a manager. You were an investor.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, that's. I mean, I think that's an
Right.
important distinction because
Yeah.
managers don't put their own capital.
Right.
behind
No, man.
it.
I was like,
That's
you know what?
all in, okay.
I was like, we need to make a big step.
Yeah. But there's perhaps the more important question, since it's about Zambian music hip hop history, is what do you feel as Holstar that Zone Fam represented in the evolution of Zambian hip hop?
Right.
And maybe Zambian music in general. Like what is it if you had to describe the significance of what
Of
they
Zone Fam. Wow. I would say Zone Fam were very significant.
Of course. Definitely.
I think Zone Fam represented at the time and still represent Zone Fam represented kind of Zambian musicians breaking barriers.
Okay.
You know, like Zone Fam was the first time people saw, okay, so top 10 mixtape in Africa.
Channel.
You know, Zambian. Channel O nomination, first time. You know, Channel O win, first time. Global music nomination, you know, like for Global Music Awards, first time. So I think just generally Zone Fam represented breaking barriers, you know, the whole mixing vernac bars with English and actually having vernac punchlines, you know, that was really different with joints like Mbao, joints like Chikali. People hadn't, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from anyone. There were people that were doing this stuff, you know, groups like Tuan, you know, people like, even if you go way, way back into Zambian music, you have people like Chilo Lemba and Alan Mvula. These people were rapping in vernac in 1993, you know, you had people like Slap D, Tommy D, but Zone Fam just brought this punch. People were like, what is this? And it looked so organized, but there's a lot of that went into it, you know. So they just represented something different, to be honest, at the time. And I'm happy that it caused this wave and it brought in a lot of new artists. It gave confidence to a lot of the young people to say, I can actually do this. And this is where the game is now. So Zone Fam, with other artists, other producers, stepped up at the time. And here we are now. Look at the Zambian hip-hop game, man. It's way, way ahead than where it was years ago, yeah.
I'd actually just like to probe on that a little bit, if I may, which is the different. What is that different in your eyes?
What's the different thing
like
that Zone Fam had?
Yeah, because if you look at the landscape in 2010 or 2009,
right.
What does that landscape look like? And once Zone Fam comes, what do they represent that's unique?
Wow. You know, honestly, I think it's just everything, the way everything came together, the way they dressed, the way they looked, the way they rapped, you know. And to be very honest with you, I think you cannot really describe it. You can't even touch it, you can't feel it. It worked out for Zone Fam, you know. I mean, a lot of people will give me props and say, oh, Holstar, man, you really push Zone Fam. And to this day, people tell me, man, you need to manage me. It might not be the same. The results might not be the same because Zone Fam just had it. They call it the X Factor, right? Is it the X Factor?
Yeah, they do.
They had the it thing. I don't know what it is. I say, I don't know what it is, man. They had the it factor, man. Their raps were on point. They looked a certain way that was different. They rapped a certain way that was different. And they also appealed to people from outside the country. Like, they had a buzz in SA, they had a buzz in Kenya, you know, they had a following in the US and different places. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still shocked.
No, that's very, very, very interesting. And so, obviously, you make a point to say that the group had a lot of intangibles and the X factor on their own. I guess you know, which is, I guess, typical of Holstar and his humility.
Right.
But from what I know of you, you know, in addition to
all the credits of the group.
Right.
I think that you also possess some credits in what I know of you personally.
Right.
You're someone who I find, one, to be quite tech savvy. I also think that generally you're quite forward looking. You're pretty astute about thinking about where are things going. And what would you say, you know, in your role, I guess, as manager / investor / executive, as part of that team and on your music business journey, were some tools or skills that helped you succeed in your role in building an audience for the guys, and maybe some of those same skills apply to your own career too.
Okay, so for one, I'll definitely say you need to be organized. You need to have a database. You know, you need to have a mailing list. That's one of the most important things that I learned along the way is having a mailing list, having contacts in line. So when you know that you're about to release this project, you have to have these people who you reach out to, be it bloggers, be it people in the media, people in radio, just people that are gonna connect you to where you wanna go. You need to have good relationships with people, whether you like it or not. If you wanna go somewhere, you have to work with people. So it's also about how you relate to people and how you treat people as well. It's very important, because the same people that you wanna use to get to where you wanna go, if you don't treat them right, you'll be nowhere tomorrow.
Very, very interesting. That was gonna be my next question is, you know, what lesson, you know, you would impart on young people from your personal story as an artist or artist manager, that, you know, if you're gonna tell them, hey, from what I've seen in my time in the trenches, this is what I would tell you, you know, for your
just have a team. Don't be too proud. I know a lot of artists might be too proud, say, I don't need this or I don't need that. You know, just study the game. Read about it, read articles, see what other people are doing. How have they been successful? How has Slap D been successful? He's got a team, you know. He's talented. How has Maki 2 been successful? He's got a movement, you know. He strategically releases a song. He just doesn't release a song every day, or, you know, I mean, there's people that release a song every week, but they're strategic about it and it's worked out for them, you know. Does that work for Zambia? You know, releasing a song every day or every week? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So those are the things that people really need to. It's an art, and it's something that people need to kind of figure out that you need to study. You know, people might shun school or whatever, but it's very important that you study your basics, so that when you actually now come into the industry that you want to be in, you have the tools, you have the knowledge, and you have the kind of thing, what do they say? Your mind has been trained to kind of be in that mode, that work mode. Yeah.
And so I guess to wrap up, where would you like to see, you know, we talked obviously a little bit today about Zambian hip-hop history, you know, a portion of some key moments in Zambian hip-hop history. Where would you like to see Zambian hip-hop go? If it were up to you.
Man, I'd love to see Zambian hip-hop reach the highest of heights. I would love to see Zambian music, or particularly Zambian hip-hop artists, collaborating with artists in different continents, like be it the US, be it in Europe, and it's just like a normal thing. You know, I want to see Slap D calling up Diddy, and there's a music video the following week. I want to see Maki 2 calling up 50 Cent, you know, and they've got this joint, and you know, and also the younger artists, you know. I want to see the younger artists win awards, global awards, Grammys, you know. I know, like, the group of artists that are here right now, we're the pioneers, you know. In the next 20, 30 years, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, those guys kind of help push the game. But the younger artists that are coming, in fact, the new crop that's around right now, the ones that call themselves the new wave, the ones that call us the OGs, I wanna see these guys break even bigger barriers than Zone Fam did, cross boundaries, win the biggest of awards and all of that, man. And I see that happening in the next year or two. Definitely next year, 2021, is going to be a huge year for Zambia. music, I think. Because I'm seeing things like, record labels coming in and investing a lot of money into the industry. So that's a good spice to add to the industry. Yeah.
Awesome. On
It's a
that
good
note,
ingredient.
we're really grateful to have had you on the
Thank you,
first
bro.
episode of Zambian Hip-Hop History. Exactly. Oh,
Corona
Corona free,
free,
man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me, bro.
No, thank you so much for making this. It was
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you, people, for watching. It's been amazing to share some knowledge and some history with y'all. It's been really, really dope. So stay tuned for the next episode right here on Zambian Hip Hop History with your boy Chanda and Mbao.
Peace.
Peace.